Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett, and today I'm going to get into a video on inside the secret world of corporate espionage. Real quick, a university's asked me to make this, so I figured why not, and since I got skills, training, and stuff like that into this, in many places around the world can't afford to get someone there to help them out, or people don't have access to this stuff to learn it. I figured why not make it public for everybody. So as far as that goes, real quick disclaimer, it's very, very important. I have no responsibility over what you do. This is for educational purposes only. Now, real quick, whether it's my videos or someone else's videos or a book or whatever, you're going to find more than not a lot of information is going to be there, but there is going to be some crucial things that are not going to be there at all due to legal reasons, so note that. But even if I try to list every single thing that I knew about, there's still more out there. So you need to note that also. Now, as far as that goes, I highly would recommend, instead of you say, oh, I want to make a company tomorrow to do this stuff, you need to study and you need to go with a company that already does this. Or at least you need to study the legal behind it. This is not going to teach legal. So as far as in this video, what will you learn? Things to do to help you practice for the job, which is very, very important, because if you're not good at it going in, then you're going to get busted pretty easily. What you need to do before you even start a job. And by the way, what I'm talking about is white hat stuff, not black hat stuff. But it kind of goes back and forth on it. The same thing that a white hat would do. It's what a black hat would do. The only difference is if a black hat gets caught, they can punch, shoot, and whatever, where a white hat kind of has to give up right there. And you know, they're exposed and whatever. And basically there's entire things on that. I'll get into that in a little bit. Then I'll get into how to do research on an area. So how to figure out where's the doors, where's this, where's that, and where should you make the drop points and stuff like that. Then we're going to get into getting into an actual building and then interacting with others and so on. So as far as things goes, what is corporate espionage and why would people hire you? So as far as the bad guys, the black hats, why would a company or state hire them? Well, basically it's to get a leg up. For the most part, at the end of the day, it's about money. In fact, is these people are not cheap, so it's the easiest way and quickest way to get either a product or a technology. And there's an example where in China they sent corporate espionage. They sent spies over to do corporate espionage on a wind turbine company here in the United States. And what ended up happening is after they stole a bunch of information, they started recreating the stuff over there in China. They undersold the company here in the United States, and I think the company either went under or went close to under. But they found after having their maintenance people working on, because many of these places, like you might have a truck place or whatever, but you can work on other trucks and whatever, someone can bring it in. Well, same thing here is this company, they sent their people out to work on some wind turbines to customer requests. And what they found is, hey, this has our technology into it, but this is labeled onto a different company that's in China. So that's how they figured out, and basically they found out that their orders actually shrunk and then just disappeared altogether because China started doing some stuff like that. And you'll see this where China's doing this with Coca-Cola formulas. You'll see it with white paint, literally the formula of white paint. You'll see this with how meetings are done, negotiations are done. You'll see it across the board. And the thing that you got to ask yourself is, how does one country go from like almost a third world country to one of the leading engineering countries in the world in one generation? This is how. And same thing goes with several other places, but when you get outside of a state level, you'll see this in some other stuff like restaurants, or you'll see it into something a little bit more. But still, it's the same type of tactics and whatever. The only difference is the budget and a few other things around that. So as far as that goes, then you got sabotage companies. Examples of this is It was a grain company. I can't remember all the details, but basically there's competing grain companies, and one sent someone over to put a germ into the grain, which spoiled the entire load, which almost took the company out, the competitor company out. So stuff like that. And then you got weak points. What is your weak point? Okay, security is your weak point, or safety is your weak point, or something else, so we can make our product or whatever else better at that point. And best way I can explain this entire thing is there's a movie, how McDonald's got founded, and part of the movie, it's my favorite quote of all time. The main guy, the main character, he was asking the original founders that if I have a competitor that is drowning, I will go over there and shove a hose down the person's throat and pump water down the throat to kill him off. Can you do that? Well, this is that. They are shoving a hose down whatever the competitor is and drown them out. So with that one in mind, that's where this comes in play, and it's really nasty, but that is the world that we are in. So as far as why does a company hire a good person? Well, one of the biggest things is to get a understanding of an outside perspective on how to make their stuff more secure. You're not always going to be breaking in and whatever, doing white hat stuff. You might be just pointing out and say, oh, you need security cameras here and here. You need to do this and this and this. And there's some of that. It doesn't come in often, depending on where and what company you're with, but it does happen. Now, as far as the other is to test their security, because the fact of the matter is how do they know that their security is good if it doesn't get tested? So there you go. Then who hires you? State level again, China and someone. I don't know if Russia does this. I'm not really going to make that claim. I know China for a fact does this. I don't know any other country that does that. So I'm not going to make that claim for any others because I never seen proof with any other. But then you got banks, you got other companies, pizza companies, food companies, things like that actually does happen there. So as far as things goes, the biggest thing that you're going to need to know is practice is very crucial when it comes to these type of jobs. Basically, you need to know how to pick locks. Now, you don't need to be the best person in the world to do it. The fact is not all the jobs are going to require it, but it shouldn't be where I would sign you a task to where we're in a building and we need to get into whatever areas. So we got multiple things and I got to get over there to do whatever. Well, basically, I shouldn't say, hey, I need you to unpick that door right there. And then I come around and 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes later, you're still working on it. Basically, you need to get it down within 30 seconds, within 1 minute. The less, the better. And it's very, very important to note that. So as far as that goes, and there's bump keys and stuff like that, but the fact of the matter is they can destroy the thing. I'm going to get a little bit more into that, but know how to pick locks if the job requires it. If you're going to bring a set of lock picks, then know how to use them. So another thing is take acting classes. It's very, very important. If you're in college right now, try to look for acting classes, or try to look for improv groups or something around that point. Basically, you need to be able to on a switch, put on a new personality, basically on a switch, go in and actually convince people to do or to know whatever it may be. You're probably going to say, oh, I just started here yesterday, yada, yada, yada. And basically, you got to be very convincing. Otherwise, the entire cover is blown. This is a major thing. The best actors in the world is not the ones in Hollywood or whatever movie studio there is. It's spies. Because guess what happens? In corporate spies is a little bit different, but in actual spies, you know what happens when someone is caught, especially if they're like somewhere like the Middle East? They get killed. So the best actors in the world is that, and that's what you got to be. Again, since you're white hat, you don't have to worry about that or legal ramifications, but you're going to have to worry about your company losing money, losing reputation, and stuff like that because you weren't convincing enough and you losing your job. So the next thing is understanding social engineering. This is a very crucial thing. You should know, back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, sales pitches, there were individuals that saying, oh, if someone's like this, then basically they are shut off from anything you say. That's BS all around. The fact of the matter is that can be environmental, and chances are is it tends to be environmental. You need to understand stuff like, is the person discomfort, like stuff like that. Is the person discomfort? How can you make them comfortable? How can you make them like you? And stuff that you can do with your hand, stuff where you can actually make your face look sad, or where you make your face look happy. The crow's feet is a major player, because if you make yourself look happy, if you try to make yourself look happy and you get the crow's feet, don't even try, because you're going to just tick people off and they don't even know why they're getting ticked off. And as far as some of the other things, you just got to be able to pick up on that, present it, and it helps you with conning people to get into a room, to doing whatever your job is. Now, as far as that goes, you need to understand the clothes you will be wearing. And the reason why I'm talking about this is, one of the common tactics is for corporate espionage, white hat or black hat, is have the person wear their phone either in their pocket or whatever, but basically their phone be sticking out of their pants. And you'll see this just in real life, where the pocket is not deep enough and the phone is too long, or they put it in their pocket in their shirt. And what would end up happening is, if the shirt's too baggy, then it's capturing the floor, whereas the shirt's proper, then what it's looking at, then you have a good idea. So you need to practice with that to have an understanding. This is what it feels like if the thing's looking this way, and you need to have a good understanding of what it's seeing. That way, when you're going around and doing whatever, and you need to figure out how is the best method to actually capture the image, because you might have some tool that you can press in your hand, maybe a pen or something else, and basically, instead of you tapping it each time to take a picture, or is a video the best method? And then how do you keep it from playing? Because sometimes because if audio of you walking around starts playing out of your pocket, oh crap. So yeah, there's things like that. Then, and also on top of that, you need to understand, is the clothes for the intrusion, will it even have pockets? In some cases, that's not even there. So there's no purpose of you fitting all the stuff if there is no pockets, because otherwise, that little technique won't work. So another thing is, you need to practice in your head what happens if you ever get caught, ever. Because you need to be able to instantaneously calm the situation down. You need to instantaneously not get riled up yourself, because you can't hit anyone, you can't do anything like that. And you basically instantaneously how to best explain to a security person or whatever who you are, why you're there, and you have where do you keep the evidence that you are who you are. So, and lastly, make sure that you always have your get out of jail free card. Basically, whenever you go into a job like this, doing white hat stuff, basically you'll have a scope and all the other stuff. And this will prove that, hey, you are who you are. And even more so, these are the people you can call to prove, I am this person, I'm doing this, what I'm doing is legal, and whatever. And that way you'll still get handcuffed and whatever, and they'll detain you for a bit, but they'll call, make sure and whatever, and then they'll just release you, because you screwed up, but still you had that on you. Otherwise you're going to jail, and it's not a pretty sight, because then you're going to have to get a little bit more into it and your company gets a worse reputation. As long as you have that on you, even if you get caught, basically you can minimize whatever damage that can happen from it. And keep in mind that getting caught is just part of the business. So as far as that goes, research the area. This is very crucial. Google Maps is your friend. I'm about to show you an example of this. So your big thing to look for on Google Maps is smoke break areas. Another thing is you need to understand a parking lot. Understand the parking lot that the people are at, but even more so, understand adjacent parking lots if there is any. Then you need to see where the dumpsters are. Basically, what you're looking for is where's the closest dumpsters to the building. You might not be able to see it because it might be covered from the building itself. There are quite a few times like that. But if the area is locked off, like a chain off or whatever, then that's trespassing. If the thing is, the dumpster itself is locked, then there's nothing. Both of those scenarios, you can't do nothing. Otherwise, you can dumpster dive and get a bunch of information that will help you in the getting in there and doing whatever you need to do. So from there, notes if there is any easy way to get onto the roof. Basically, you can put a pineapple on the roof. You can put a bunch of stuff on the roof to help you out to get data, where you just put it on the roof, wait a couple hours or whatever, and come back and pick it up. But if there's no easy way to get on the roof, then that's not an option. Also note things like plants, bushes, trees, forests, stuff like that for drop points, and again for dropping tools, so it'll monitor the area, all the radio bands and whatever that it can get, and then you come back there and pick it up later. So another thing is you need to be able to drive out to the area. Big thing is a rent. Your cars do not have fancy cars. You basically want to, big thing you want to do is pull up Google Maps on the computer, pull up the local area and look for a Walmart, and look at all the cars. What is the color of them? What is the type of cars and stuff like that? And they'll tell you what type of car people are used to seeing. And they'll say, oh, I saw a white whatever Hyundai or whatever that came through every so often, but there's like 1,000 of them, so it doesn't correlate that something's iffy going on there. But if they see a Corvette and no one has a Corvette, then that's instantaneously going to catch attention. And then if it comes around 2-3 more times, then people know if something's up. So that's a big thing to note there. But look for names on parking places. Basically, these are your executives, these are your directors. So when you do get caught, you can say, oh, I was looking for whoever the name is, and that way it'll help you out. You should do some initial research into stuff to start with, but there's so much that you might not remember all these things, so those little things will help. Note any badges, and also say where they are closest at. So they're most likely in that building. So, you're not going to have a parking place for Mr. Smith, and Mr. Smith works 3 miles down in some other building. It just doesn't work like that. So, note people's badges, note what they're wearing, what does it look like, and can you mimic it easily. And again, drop zones to bushes and other things like that. So an example is, so this is just a random manufacturing plant, just to show you what it will look like if you were casing something from Google Earth or Google Maps. Basically, you need to know where the smoke zones are. Why do you need to know where people go out and smoke? Well, the biggest thing is this will be conversation hotspots. You want to hang around there when people are there. Otherwise, you do whatever else. But if you hang around there, people will talk about passwords, people talk about usernames, people talk about the jobs. Even the smallest thing might help, and you can overhear it. As long as you are covered, as far as maybe you and a team member can go to some of these to see what's up, then you know, and also you know how many team members to put in there if need be. So that's a big thing. And as far as smoke zones, a big thing to look for is near doorways, and specifically corners and stuff like this. Basically anywhere that's open. So for example, here it's probably not. On this side it's probably not. But somewhere that's private, it's probably more so. So some of these other areas around here, it's probably more so because it's hidden, and even though there might be, you know, security cameras that capture whatever you do, the fact is you just, you know, I mean, come on. So as far as that goes, you need to also know where the doors are so you can see if you got surveillance, what time people are coming in, what time are they coming out, what is the most used area, what's the least used area, and stuff like that. It's just good things to know. And that way you also know your exit plan. So if they are onto you or you need to get out of there for whatever reason, then you know where the doors is. In the general, you obviously not know the inside, but you'll know the general areas. So from that, you also need to know the gates. So for example, okay, this is where the checkpoints are, so we need to figure out how to get around that. And anywhere that you're not really sure, like say for example here, I don't know if that's a gate or that's not. That might be a shadow, but that might be an interesting thing to look at. So make sure you note things like that. Then you got things like the parking lots. So the big thing with the parking lot is the dirt parking lot, the dirtier parking lot, that tends to be blue collar. You're probably not going to get your names on the parking spaces there. It's probably going to be more around here where it's nicer and cleaner. So you got white collar, so the executives, the directors, the managers, and stuff of this nature is probably going to be in this area. But there's no guarantee that there is a name on the parking lot itself. So it's a big thing to note. And then with the blue collar parking lot, you may be able to get into there easier sometimes, because basically these people really don't give two craps about their, you know, they care enough about their job to have it, but beyond that, they, you know, it's whatever. So just note that. Then you got drop points. All right, if I need to drop something like here in this, since you're already at the car and you're in the car or whatever, there's no point in this. But if I was to make a drop point, it would, and if I was walking or whatever, it would be something around here, because this looks clear because it has no, you can't see anyone here, and no one besides maybe coming around that corner or whatever can't see you. So you can actually drop something there or drop something there and no one will be the wiser unless there's cameras or something else in there. So there's a big thing to note there. And it's minor things like this. So say for example, if I was to throw out a bunch of USB drives for hopefully someone to pick up to infect their own systems, I'm not going to throw it into the blue collar parking lot, because most likely they won't know if I know that they have access to computers, then yes, but most likely they won't. So I will do it on the other end. So I know that they have access to computers, or they should have access to computers. So they plug it in or whatever, and they infect their own computers. You know, it's things like that. Now, this only gives you a percent of what is there. The best thing to do is scope out the place and see what like, basically, it's a thing that I didn't put in here is if you are doing a job, you need to figure out how many people go to the given building. So it's viable about 2 times like a Tuesday and Thursday or something like that. Go and drive by in the middle of the day and see how many people are, how many cars are in the parking lot. If it's hardly any, then you know it's a skeleton crew, so it's going to be much, much harder. Like if there's only like 10 people that work there, it's kind of obvious when there's a new person. But if there's, you know, a whole load, then it's very hard to actually to just spot someone that's brand new, because they might literally be brand new. So that's a big thing to note. Now, as far as that, So as far as the do not do is, do not actually park in the parking lot of the place that you're going after. You can do this if you have a tag, you got all the credentials and whatever, fine. But if you don't have that, then basically do not park in that parking lot. Because the fact is if there is a grocery store nearby, a Walmart, whatever, just walk. If at worst case, like the picture I showed before, the reason why I showed that is because there is no parking lots around it, so someone has to drop you off. That is, an option. But other than that, basically, if you park in a parking lot and they say, oh, you don't have a tag in there, or where it may be, then basically you can run into some serious problems really quick. So note that. Don't ever, and just because you got a tag in there, security might be, up to up that day. So they might say, hey, we don't have that car on register. So we need to figure out who is that and is that tag in there legit. So that's a big thing. Don't ever interact with people without a game plan. And what this basically means is if someone approaches you and say, hey, my name is blah, I think you're new or whatever it may be, or why are you here? Don't, that's not going to be like a thing that you're going to be able to plan, but you need to know why are you there? What is your backstory? You need to make sure that your backstory doesn't have plot holes, or at least enough for, any problems to come out. You need to basically be able to answer any question as if you were that person. It's the reason why I said you need to take acting classes. You need to act. You don't just need to take acting classes. You need to be able to act. I highly advise stuff like plays and stuff like that. If you're bad at it, you need to be able to be very believable. And not only that, you need to probably get into script writing or something like that, so you can think about a person and see how would this person act in this scenario. If that way you act that way, even though in the real world you might not. You need to act whatever way that person's written out to be. So then on top of that, do not wear something out of place. So don't wear a Speedo to a manufacturing job, but more, realistically, basically, if people got uniforms, try to find a way to get a uniform. If people wear, hoodies and whatever, then, wear that. If people wear suits and whatever, then wear that. Quick story, I actually ran this problem on one of my first major jobs. I worked in, no, I wouldn't call them major jobs, but one of my first jobs into the real world. After I got done with my aerospace degree, I went into manufacturing because there was no aerospace work. Well, I had nice shoes, nice clothes, very nice stuff, and basically everybody else was in blue jeans or whatever else it may be. And on top of it being uncomfortable as hell with wearing, nice shoes and whatever and being on my feet all day and whatever, what the fact is it made me stand out like a sore thumb. So, yeah, and problems happen. So with that, make sure you wear what other people are wearing. If they're wearing blue jeans, wear blue jeans. If they're not, then don't. So, and that's advisable anywhere. So, another thing is don't ever use a nice car. So don't ride around in a Corvette. Don't ever ride around in, whatever. Basically, use whatever that is within an area and make sure it's rented. Basically, you don't want it linked back to you. That's a major thing. So even if you're doing this as a white hat, basically you can rent a car cheap and you can switch them out fairly easily. You can say, I don't really like this car, how it's handling. Is there something else? The car rental place won't know what's going on, but you're basically switching out cars so they don't get this car passed us 3-4 times. What's going on with that? Don't ever let the place see you recording or taking pictures. So note that, hey, what is that person doing? Yeah, that's not going to fly. Don't follow people to their homes. This is a problem. And the fact of the matter is if you're going to do that, then what you need to do is study more into social engineering and stuff like that, because the thing that you need to note is don't follow people to their homes, but know what bars do they go to. Do they go to a bar at all? And basically you can meet them there, and basically you can interact and get into their life right there. So that's a big thing to note into itself. But yeah, don't follow people to their homes. There's nothing good that's going to happen to that. Don't touch people or attack people. And what I mean by this is handshakes, whatever, fine. But hey, bro, no, don't do that. And obviously, again, don't attack people. One of the biggest things is there's a lot of people who's in the military that gets into this line of work, and they're used to, oh, I got caught and people are holding guns at me, I need to defend myself, and they go just flip right there and they start attacking and whatever. It's a bad day for everybody right there. Even if there's not a gunshot that's fired, basically it's a bad day for everybody. And that person tends to get full extent against the law against them, and even the company that they work for, they're done, and the company itself sues that one person. So yeah, don't do that. Immediately stand down, calm down to the situation and whatever. So as far as the do's, dumpster diving. Obviously you don't want to enjoy this, but what you need to do is make sure that the dumpster does not have a lock on it. Make sure that it is not behind a gate or anything like that. And from there is public domain. So legal. Now, as far as that goes, you need to, or someone on your team needs to dress like a hobo. Grow out your beard or whatever it may be. Have some scotch. Don't drink it, obviously, but have something to play the part, whatever it may be. And you may, depending on the area, that might not be a good idea. Think about it. But just play the part for the local hobo stuff. Open canisters, they might actually be illegal for most areas. Just think about that. But still, you need to play that. And what's going to end up happening is security sees, oh, someone's rummaging through our garbage. They must be looking for food because they're homeless. They're not going to say, oh, someone in khakis and stuff is rummaging through our garbage. We got a security problem. So yeah, that's a major difference. And obviously, you know, if I highly advise at that point smell bad, because basically homeless people ain't gonna have access to the utilities, and security people ain't gonna want to touch you if you smell bad, and if you're grungy and all the other stuff, they ain't gonna want to touch you. So therefore, you're playing the homeless part, and that's again acting. So as far as the next one, use multiple cars. Again, rent something that doesn't stand out. Use Walmart to figure out what is needed in the local area. Try to dress normal when doing your research, but do not look like a thug to stand out and whatever. Use facial hair to your advantage, glasses to your advantage. Don't wear anything that smells good or bad when you're on the job, and that way you blend in as much as possible. Understand the customs in the area, so that's a big thing. Pointing and stuff like that, that's a big thing. Buy stuff from the company, computers, servers, etc. And what this basically does is a lot of the time the hard drives are still in there, they still got stuff, and they'll give you a little bit of information. And that's just probably enough to set you over the edge to help you out. Now, as far as getting into the building, note what your scope allows. So can you break into stuff? Can you not? Like bunk keys and whatever. You can use lasers to actually disable cameras permanently, like the lasers that pop balloons and other things like that. They basically can damage a camera, so note that. Can you use that? Because some contracts won't allow that. Tailgating, basically that means you follow someone unlocks a door and you follow behind them. Now, some areas you're not going to have that ability. Turnstile stuff, you're not going to have the ability, but it's a big thing to note that is a common tactic, especially into side of the buildings and stuff like that. Find when no one is there and just see if the doors is unlocked or can be picked. Having a door unlocked might work, but picking it might set off alarms, so note that. Most modern motion sensors, they are now and another tip is make sure you've got stuff in your hand, and that way when you try to get into somewhere, people don't want to be jerks, so they try to key you in. So that happens sometimes it don't work, but that's something that is make or break, and that if it doesn't work, then everybody knows something's up. Find an opening on where you can just walk in, so an opening in the gate or something like that, and you can just walk in, and there you go. Now getting into a building, continue on that. Note what people are wearing to work on a building that's working on it. So maintenance crew, cleaning crew, and stuff like that. It tends to be where the clean crew that are in the daytime, they have to do their job. At night, they're king of the place because there's no one there. So this big thing to note is that might be a good cover. Looking, and I can personally tell you that from someone who actually did a lot of cleaning for a lot of places and dealt with that. No one's going to ask you questions. Basically, they might point out some places that need to be cleaned, but they're not really going to ask you questions on why are you there, because it's kind of obvious, unless if you come back 3 or 4 times. Now, as far as that goes, the big thing to note is if you get caught doing something, you can say that, I was cleaning out something, and that way it covers the story. One big thing that you can do is you can take documents. If you take pictures of them, great, and that worst case scenario, you just put it in a trash can, and the person says, I lost my documents, or whatever it may be. But you can actually take that trash, or the trash that already has documents that someone threw away in there, and you can mark it somehow with like a marker or whatever, and then whenever you put it in a dumpster, and or if the dumpster's locked or behind a gating stuff, you can still mark it and then throw it back in your truck, or put it in a drop location, and that way someone else picks it up. But if the dumpster isn't locked, or the dumpster is not behind a gate, since it's marked, your team knows what to pick up, and that way they can get in and get out without any problem. So see if you even have to get into the building. This is a major thing. You might be able to just infect the system remotely, so that's a major thing. Again, I got videos on evil toy method and a few other things, so that's a big help right there. Tricks to help, again, find the smoking area, because basically that's where people are going to really talk about stuff, talking about something coming down the pipe, credentials, stuff like that, and that way you can get a lot of information there. If someone finds you wandering around, you need to say that you just started there, you're just trying to figure out your way around, and whatever it may be. Use the names in the parking lot to help you out, and that way that can help you overall. And a big thing to note is use things like LinkedIn, Facebook, and stuff like that to get whatever information that you can. So if someone doesn't drink, you can't say, I met whatever at a bar. You need to come up with a believable story and know the background of some of these people. So when security guards have guns, don't pay attention to them until they are drawn. The reason why is basically they ain't going to recognize they even have it on them until time comes. So if they're not drawn, they don't, and it's not drawn at you, then you got nothing to worry about. Just like a cop or anything else, you don't really have anything to worry about. Use the fact that people want to help you as their weakness. This, again, have your hands full trying to get in a door or something like that, or it just looked like a lost puppy, and say that you're trying to find a person, some director or whatever they wanted to talk to when you first start, and you don't know where they're at, and that way people, they feel sorry, feel some type of connection, they want to help you out, and you're trying to exploit that emotional investment. So you can make an emotional investment or just a emotional attachment, because everybody's felt that at some point. Now, as far as the Make sure your badge is on you at all times. It's a big thing, but you need to know where your badge is. So, for example, when I worked in manufacturing, the one of the jobs I went to, they wanted you to wear it around your neck, and it can't be on your hip. It can't be anywhere else. It had to be around your neck. But some places they don't care that you can put it on your hip. You can put it wherever else. And that was a major thing. And what I found interesting is in some positions, the manufacturing people, the low-end people on the floor, they wore theirs around the neck. We had to. But you had janitors that wore on the hip. You had IT people that wore on the hip and stuff like that. So keep that in mind too. Because, I mean, the big thing is the funny thing is you need to know what type of people you're going to be around when you get in there. So if you're going to be around engineers and stuff like that, where do they normally keep the badge? What do they normally dress as and stuff like that? So from there, you need to, before you start, you need to have a story. You need to know why you're there, what you're going to be doing, and stuff like that. So you need to have a believable story, play a part, basically write a story for yourself and play that part. Check lost and found for USB drives. Say that you lost a USB drive, had some, family photos or something like that on it, and you don't remember what it looked like, or someone dropped you off and they said you lost it and they think it's there. You don't know what it looks like, and you just see if there is some. Chances are there's not going to be any USBs and lost and found, but it doesn't hurt to try that. You might find some with good data on it. Obviously, if you're going to plug it in, put it into a VM and all the other, make sure it's in protected environments, because it might be someone else trying to get in. So don't ask too many questions. This is a problem I went through on one of my first positions in manufacturing. Basically, I was taught in school to ask questions, learn about the product, and learn about how you do it and all the other stuff. And it turned out like literally me asking questions on one of the first manufacturing jobs I went to. The people there started saying, "Are you a corporate spy or whatever?" But the reality is I was trusting in what the teachers and stuff was telling me. It turned out to be false, and basically what ended up happening is it cost me a bit there. Even though I wasn't at the time, I learned that to not ask too many questions about things and just go with the flow and keep your head down and whatever it might be. So it's a big thing to note is don't ask too many questions, even if it's a part of your job, which is kind of weird. But even if it's part of your job, don't ask too many questions unless if the environment introduces that itself. So go to the flow, see what the environment has. If people aren't asking questions, then don't ask questions yourself. So tools of the trade, bump keys. This is a useful thing, but with that, it can break something, so your scope might not allow it. Lock picks, obviously. High-powered lasers for the security cameras. Basically, the high-powered laser, if it can blow up a balloon, basically it can destroy some stuff and the sensitive stuff into the camera itself. And basically, you will look at the camera and won't be able to tell, but the camera's dead. It won't be. It has to be replaced. Use pineapples, Wi-Fi pineapples, malware on USB drives. Make sure that you label it like something like wife pictures or something like that, so people will want to plug it in. Rogue AP access points, rubber duckies. These are big things. Make sure that you put it into things like coffee warmers, keyboards, mouses, and stuff like that, so people will want to plug it in. Keyloggers, some places you can get away with just putting a keylogger on everything, some not so much. Cameras, and this is a big thing, is there's cameras like with cell phone cameras, and then you get into some stuff like this, the watch I got on the 12 mark. There is a pinhole camera. I can press a button and I can be recording audio, video, and people around me won't know. I just have to practice and keep in mind, okay, if I can hold my wrist this way, then it's doing that, and whatever it may be. So that's a big thing to note is that. Also note how much time you have before the space is used up on things like that. Obviously with phones and stuff, you get a little bit more, but it's depending on the scenario, it can be a little bit harder. Like for example, when I worked in some previous jobs, you couldn't have your phone with you at all. It had to stay in a locker, but you can have your watch with you, and therefore something like that would work easily. Then you got things like Play-Doh or something that you can mold, and basically some doors in some places, basically if the door is held open too long, then an alarm will go off. Say tell the security to check on it. But if the door is, if it's closed, then alarm won't go off. So what you want to do is basically put Play-Doh or whatever in, and it depends on the scope because some of the stuff will mess it up. Put it around where the lock mechanism is, and basically that will keep it from locking. And do it in such a way that people won't be able to say, "Hey, what's going on here?" But it will allow you to go in and out, and helps out with that. RFID cloners for badges and stuff. Then we got the last thoughts. Use social media to get info on people who work in the area. So again, if someone doesn't drink, then don't say, "Oh, I'm here to meet blah blah blah. I met him at a bar," because that ain't gonna fly. Most people will probably know person doesn't drink or whatever it may be. Practice as much as you can, especially with acting and some of this other stuff. Use hangouts like bars, churches, and stuff like that to get information, because people will talk about work afterwards. Know why you're there, what you're doing, know the scope. Have your get out of jail card with you on all times. Let others talk. Basically, you're there to listen, to learn and stuff. They're not your friends. So that's a big thing to note. So you are there to get information or to show them their flaws. And then if you get caught, basically stand down or whatever, and then you will get caught at some times.